Alright, harness their power, elevate your build. TM, Blizzard. So, we're getting 32 Malignant Hearts. The Malignant Hearts are all going to be based on a generalized amount, which any character can get, and then there are going to be 4 specific ones for each class. So there's 12 generic ones and 20 specific ones. So, we have some very interesting ones and some that are going to be mandatory for builds since we're losing a lot of damage reduction anyway. So, we'll start off here. The Picana. Electrically charge the enemy for 0.75 to 2.5 seconds, causing lightning to arc between them and any other charged enemies, dealing 68 to 136 damage. I'm assuming this scales with levels, so we'll see how that plays out. Every 5 seconds while above 60% life, core skills cost 68 to 51 life instead of your primary resource. Skills that consume life deal 10 to 20% increased damage. The Dark Dance does seem like it's going to be a decent heart that we can utilize to increase some of our primary skills. 51 life doesn't seem very much, but I'm assuming the amount that this costs will scale up with your level. So again, we will see how this plays out. Tempting Fate. You gain 40 to 60% critical strike damage, but your non-critical strikes deal 20 to 15% less damage. This will be mandatory for all of your builds that require 100% crit, like Bone Spear, so this is going to put up the Bone Spear back to where it was, I believe, if not 20% higher. The Lionheart, a defensive aspect. You gain 10% barrier generation. You heal 3 to 7 life per second while you have an active barrier. I think this is a nothing aspect. Probably throw these away for materials. Revenge. This is going to be a must for every single build in the game. You're losing 750 armor with these slots in your jewelry, so Revenge will be a part of all of it. It is a brutal one. The brutal hearts are blue, so you need one of your jewelry slots with a blue socket. Going back here to Revenge. 10 to 20% of incoming damage is instead suppressed. When you use a defensive, subterfuge, or a macabre skill, all suppressed damage is amplified by 250% and explodes, dealing up to 1,360 to 2,040 fire damage to nearby enemies. I don't care about that damage. It's probably a nothing amount of damage. We need that damage reduction. Prudent Heart. Brutal. You become immune for 2 to 4 seconds after you lose more than 20% of your life in a single hit. This effect can only occur once every 110 seconds. This is like a second bubble. I don't think this will be used unless you already have enough damage in your build. Determination is a utility one. Resource draining effects are 40 to 50% less effective. In addition, gain 3 to 8% increased resource generation. This might be used with one of the necromancer aspects that buffs some damage, so we'll talk about that in conjunction when we get there. Retaliation, devious, utility. Deal 510 to 680 fire damage surrounding enemies whenever a crowd control effect is removed from you. Nothing, I think. Calculated. After you spend 150 or 200 of your primary resource, your next attack stuns enemies for 2 hits. This is a nothing one. And the Malignant Pack. Cycle through a Malignant bonus every 20 seconds. Vicious gains, not 20 seconds, I'm sorry. The Malignant Pack. Wrathful, it's a super ability. Cycle through a Malignant bonus every 20 kills. Vicious, gain 20% attack speed. Devious, core and basic skills have a 15% chance to fully restore your primary resource. And Brutal, every 21 seconds gain a barrier absorbing 85 to 102 damage. This could be good for attack speed builds or Bone Spear. I don't think anything really cares that much about barrier that can't already generate barrier. Especially not everything that's, cycling every 20 seconds. Creeping Death. Your damage over time effects are increased by 30 to 40% for each different crowd control effect on the target. Unstoppable monsters and stagger bosses instead take 110 to 130% increased damage from your damage over time effects. This is going to be amazing for rogue poison builds. This is going to be amazing for shadow damage over time builds, which we have one that we've recently made on the channel. So go ahead and take a look at that in the 5 necromancer build video. This is going to be a core component of those damage over time builds, and I think those builds are going to be absolutely insane with something like this when you stagger a boss. The Barber, Wrathful, Super. I don't know why they call it superpowers. It seems very odd to me. Critical strikes and all subsequent damage within 2 to 4 seconds is absorbed by your target. Then the absorbed damage erupts onto surrounding enemies. Stored damage is increased by 10% per second. This, in conjunction with the other critical strike damage modifier one, is going to be insane, I think. So keep an eye out for those builds. Barbarian, Focused Rage. So now we're on to the individual specific ones. Again, there is one for each type, so we will have an offensive, a defensive, a utility, and a super one for each individual class. We're going to go ahead and read through some of them. Just like the patch notes, I don't have a bunch of thoughts on individual ones. I do have some thoughts about the Necromancer one because I think that they are going to be very broken altogether. All right, so Barbarian, Focused Rage, Offensive. After spending 100 to 60 Fury within 2 seconds, your next non-basic skill's critical strike chance is increased by 20 to 30%. Resurgent Life, Defensive. While below 40 to 60% life, you receive 50 to 60% more healing from all sources. Punishing Speed, Utility. Your skills have a 20 to 30% chance to knock down all enemies for 1.25 seconds when that skill's attack speed is higher than 35 to 20%. Ignore Pain, a super. Incoming damage has a 5 to 15% chance of being ignored and instead healing you for 17 to 68. That seems not very super indeed. Druid, the Moon Rage, Offensive. Skills have a 5% chance to summon a wolf companion to your side for 20 to 30 seconds. In addition, you gain +3 to wolves. The Agitated, Defensive. When 8 to 13 close enemies automatically cast Cyclone Armor. This cannot occur more than once every 10 to 20 seconds. So that means if you have enemies that are close to you within that number range, it's going to cast the Cyclone Armor. I guess for free. I don't think it's going to incur your cooldown. It doesn't seem like it's going to, because it has its own cooldown. Inexorable Force, Utility. Up to 30 to 50 distant enemies are pulled toward you while you have a ultimate skill active. The Unconstrained Beast, Super. When you are hit with a stun, freeze, or knockdown effect, there is a 40 to 60% chance to automatically activate Grizzly Rage for 3 seconds. Necromancer, the Sacrilegious, Offensive. Walking near a corpse automatically activates an equipped corpse skill every second, dealing 40 to 30 reduced damage. The Decrepit Aura, Defensive. When at least 5 enemies are near you, you gain an aura that automatically curses enemies around you with Decrepify for 5 to 15 seconds. Frozen Terror, Utility. Lucky hit up to a 10 to 20% chance of inflicting fear for 2.5 seconds. Fear enemies are chilled for 20 every second. 20% every second. The Great Feast, Super. Each minion drains 1 to 2 essence per second, but deals 50 to 75% increased damage. With no minions, this bonus applies to you and drains 5 essence per second. Oh, this is such an insane increase. If this is a multiplicative damage increase for 75%, we're talking giving yourself another two-handed weapon aspect in the aspect of reanimation for your minions to damage. Now, you're going to still take away like 13 essence a second, and that's going to be very hard to deal with. But if you're going through and your main move is, raise skeleton and you're just consuming a couple corpses, this is going to be an insane amount of damage. And if we can get a ton of damage from this, we can alter the build to where you're not using a single spender. And that's going to be amazing. We can get rid of things like Blade Off the Bar and just choose to change it with Army of the Dead and get the attack speed multiplier. So there's a lot of implications we can do with something like this, plus the original minion buffs. We're looking at like 105% increased damage with minions, which would take them a lot higher than just it doesn't just double their damage. It's a multiplicative formula that also adds on the 105% at the end. So it's a lot of extra damage that the minions are going to get from this. Rogue, cluster munitions, offensive, lucky hit. You have a up to 20% chance to launch 3 stun grenades that deal 26 to 32 physical damage and stun enemies for 0.5 seconds. Trickery, defensive. When you use a subterfuge skill, leave behind an unstable shadow decoy trap that taunts enemies. The shadow decoy trap will explode after 6 seconds, dealing 680 to 1020 shadow damage. Cannot occur more than once every 5 seconds. The clip shot, utility. Lucky hit, up to a 20 to 40% chance for your cutthroat skills to slow by 40% for 3 seconds, and your marksman skills to knock back enemies. The Vile Apothecary, super. Your attacks have a 5 to 15% chance to apply all imbuements effects at 40 to 50% of normal potency. Sorcerer, Kal Rasha. For each unique element you deal damage with, you deal 7 to 12% increased damage for 3 to 10 seconds. Spellbreaking, defensive. After taking elemental damage, you gain 20 to 40% resistance to that element for 5 seconds. Spite, utility. When you are afflicted with a crowd control effect, there is a 20 to 40% chance that the same enemy and enemies around you are also afflicted with the same effect for 3 seconds. That's pretty cool. You can do a little reflect of like Frozen or something, or Fearing. Omnipower, super. 4 skills that launch a projectile consume all of your mana. For every 45 to 35 extra mana consumed, you launch an additional projectile, and the damage is increased by 3 to 5%. A very low number, but still a very cool power. I'm sure they'll be utilizing that with like Fireball or something. So that wraps up today's video. I know a lot of people are going to be talking about this. My overall thoughts that this is pretty much an L patch. There's a lot of nerfs that came through. I hope that these hearts are something that we can use to elevate all of the nerfs that happen in the rebalancing of gear. We lost a lot of armor. My personal character lost 2,000 armor when the patch went live without changing a single thing. So it's overall not looking very good. I hope that this Season 1 hearts do put some good effort into making us feel like we're powerful again. I don't like a lot of the leveling changes. We'll see how impactful some of these things come to light. And yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Check me out over at Twitch. I'm on Twitter as well. Everything is the handle Jacket, so whatever platform you're on between Reddit, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. Twitter's the last one. Check me out. Make sure you follow me if you want more content. Again, my Season 1 plans are going to be Druid. I will talk about that in a video coming up shortly, and I will see you in the next video. Peace!